Today, we become legends.
The Smite 2 24/7 Alpha Dev Insight Show revealed an absolute ton of new stuff coming to Smite 2, as well as reworks to existing systems. So without further ado, here's everything that was discussed on the show. So first up, 2D card arts are going to be coming back instead of the 3D model like render card arts. They are planning on sort of tweaking and reworking a lot of the existing card arts from Smite 1. They're going to keep sort of the same theme and often the same style, but they're going to be reworked and detailed up and sort of scaled up in resolution and all this kind of stuff. Some of those are ready, but they said some of them aren't ready and will just be using their legacy like 2D card arts from Smite 1 as a placeholder until they get all of that ready. Next up was a really big one. There's been a massive environment art overhaul of Conquest and the game in general to be much more vibrant and stylized. They've reduced a lot of the like Unreal Engine blur that is on a lot of the stuff and increased the sharpness, so there's a bit more clarity and visibility, while also the graphics look a lot more vibrant and stylized. They also mentioned a new objective for Conquest, but they didn't say what it was, where it will be, what it will do, any of that kind of stuff. That will probably be for the patch note show, which will be in a couple of weeks, where there'll be full patch notes. I'll be covering that as well, so if you want to stay updated on all the Smite 2 news, definitely subscribe for that. Next up, there should be some performance improvements, especially fewer hitches and random FPS drops, but also a generally better frame rate. Of course, hardware differences could make it a small improvement for you or a really massive improvement. It kind of depends on what your system is, but there should be at least some kind of performance improvement going into this next alpha, which I know is a big issue for a lot of people on consoles or lower end PCs. Next up, there was an item store UI overhaul. There's a short description mode, kind of like it is on Smite 1, at least on Smite 1 in PC. I think the console one's different, but now you can sort of scroll down the store and you'll have these rectangular boxes which show a short description as well as the icon rather than just a big grid list of icons. I personally much prefer it this way. I think it looks a lot cleaner. There's also going to be dividers now, so there's going to be like offensive items, defensive items, starter items, utility items, hybrid mixed items, all that kind of stuff. Speaking of, I just mentioned it, starter items are coming back for this alpha, which is really exciting. Aspects are gone. That whole system has just been completely control or deleted because starters now take up their own slot and sort of replace the aspects. So you'll have a starter, which there's 2 per role at the moment, and they currently have 1 upgrade each. They will be upgrading starters, kind of like Smite 1, but more upgrades are planned to be added in the future. It's just when this patch goes live, there probably will only be 1 upgrade for each starter. But there are 2 per role, so that's 10 new items with 10 upgrades as well, and more upgrades planned. But you will have that in addition to your regular 6 item builds. So you can still build normal 6 items as you were doing in Smite 2 and as you would do, I guess, in like the super old days of Smite 1. But then you'll have this extra 7 slot that holds your starter item, and that's going to be replacing the aspect system from Alpha 4 and Alpha 3, if it was in Alpha 3. The starting gold has also been increased so that you can buy a starter, a tier 1, and potions, so you can have a little bit more starting gold there now. It's going to be similar to a Smite 1 start. Moving on to active items. So they've introduced a cap of 3 active items. You can no longer have more than 3 active items in your build whatsoever, and they're going to be displayed much better on your HUD with their own icon next to your ability bar that shows like the cooldown of it, whether it's ready, that kind of stuff. I personally think this looks a lot more clean, and while I'm not mega excited about the 3 item cap rule, I think it kind of does make sense, and it will especially make it easier for consoles. You know, there's not going to be any of these builds that require you to have like 5 active items in support or whatever, and you just physically can't do that on a controller, so I kind of understand where they've gone with it. And the new icons next to your ability bar does make it a lot more readable on when your active items are available, which ones you have, and all that kind of stuff. Next up for items, over 20 of the most popular Smite 1 tier 3 items have been implemented into Smite 2 almost exactly as they were in Smite 1. I don't have a full list to hand right now, but some of them are like Serrated Edge, Gladiator Shield, Shield of the Phoenix has been added as well. Gauntlet of Thebes, I think, is coming back too. Like, basically, a bunch of the most popular, most bought tier 3 items from Smite 1 are going to be coming into Smite 2. So when you jump into this alpha, there'll be a lot more familiar items that you can just kind of look at and see, oh yeah, that's going to do that. Obviously, they'll be a little bit different, you know, physical power will be replaced with strength and stuff, and, you know, maybe the numbers will be shifted around a little bit, but in general, the items will do the same thing they did in Smite 1. So in addition to the starters also coming back, that's essentially 30 new items that have been added to the game, and they're all familiar Smite 1 items that can hopefully sort of fill out your build with items that you know will be good, and then you can maybe take a look for your final few slots on what you want to go for in terms of like Smite 2 specific items. Next up, Aegis and Shell have been added as relics. Nothing too crazy there, but there's now 5 relic options, and that's probably around where they're going to stay. I think maybe they'll shift some around, you know, maybe they'll remove some and add some different ones or whatever, but Aegis and Shell have been added as relics. The component system has been completely reworked, so it's now going to be always at most 2 components to build into any new item, and no component can ever build directly into a tier 3. It must become a tier 2 first. They have also increased the amount of gold to upgrade from full components to a tier 3 to sort of make that a bit of a wider gap, whereas before you might only spend like 150 gold to upgrade from your components and tier 2s into a tier 3. It's now going to be, you know, more like 600, 700, 800 gold, so there's actually a bit of a gap there in terms of upgrading from your components to a full tier 3, kind of like it is in Smite 1. K-Screen for abilities is back, so you'll be able to view all of your abilities on the right hand side side of the screen in like a big thing instead of having to hover on them on your ability bar. Mordred is also coming. It wasn't really showcased on the patch show at all because they released a closer look, which I've got a full video on if you're interested. I'll link that below. Next up is a pretty big one. All gods will now only be limited to dealing one damage type, so they will only be physical or they will only be magical. Mixed int and strength scaling is still there, of course, so you'll still have some gods that are mixed, like Neith, for example. I'm not sure actually if they said if she's going to be a mage and do magical damage or if she's going to be like a hunter and do physical damage. But for example, if she is going to be dealing physical damage, she will only deal physical damage, but she'll still have the mixed int and strength scaling within her kit, so you can still use like Chronos Pendant on her. It's just you'll be doing physical damage. Next up, a small one for gods. Many tanks will be getting some kind of protection scaling on their abilities, so ways to leverage their protections to get extra benefits out of their abilities, which I think is really cool. Penetration is now going to be merged as well, so it's no longer going to be magical and physical penetration as separate stats. Many gods are getting adjusted pre- and post-fire timings, animation changes, audio reworks, all that kind of stuff to essentially give them passes to make them feel more like Smite 1. So that should help out with the general feel of the gods. Next up, a major one, the Ascension Passes were showcased on this, which I think look really, really awesome, honestly. They work like a battle pass with some free rewards and some paid ones where you have to own the Ascension Pass, which costs 900 diamonds. Diamonds are going to be the new premium currency for Smite 2 instead of gems. In terms of pricing, they said on the show that $10 will get you 1,300 diamonds and $100 will get you 16,000 diamonds. This was, I believe, 800 gems and 8,000 gems, these prices, so diamonds are a little bit inflated compared to Smite 1 gems. In terms of the Ascension Passes, there are some free diamond rewards, so as you progress up and get these, like, various things along the Battle Pass track, you're also going to get free diamond rewards, and there's a total of 225 on the free track as you work your way from Mastery 1 to Mastery 10, and there's going to be another 225 diamonds on the paid track as well in a similar fashion, meaning they're essentially free, or like you can buy them solely with legacy gems if you buy the premium track, because they're 900 diamonds in total, but there'll be 450 diamonds, 450 legacy gems if you have legacy gems available, and you'll get a refund of 450 diamonds. They also mentioned that some things like classic skins will be buyable with only legacy gems, so we kind of assumed that would be the case, but yeah, if they're porting over like classic skins or maybe adding, you know, certain special things, you'll be able to buy them solely with legacy gems, so that's nice. So some things that were shown on these Ascension Passes are the clap and wave emotes, for example. They will be for free on the free track. Shadow skins are back and available immediately on buying the Ascension Pass, so you will have to buy them to get the shadow skins, but as soon as you buy it, you don't have to have any level of mastery, you'll get the shadow skin. Unique trackers are also a thing. They're going to be available at level 1 and level 4, and these are unique to each god and showcase some kind of related stat to that god on the loading frame. Susanoo's 1, for example, counts how many times you've maxed out his passive debuff on enemies. I believe some of the Ares ones were how many enemies in total you've pulled with your ultimate, and also how many times you've hit all 3 chains. So stuff like that, they're going to be related to the god's kit in terms of stuff that you can do with that god, and these will be showcased as trackers on your loading frame. Each god is going to have 2 of those, one at level 1 and one at level 4, as I mentioned, alongside other generic trackers like kills and assists and objective kills and stuff like that, some of which are free and some of which are paid. At level 1 of the premium track, you also get a Mastery Global emote that evolves as you rank up your Mastery and showcases your Mastery level and your stars, and you can like fire that off in game and flex on people. You also get a 25% worshipper boost by owning the Ascension Pass, the premium pass. Onyx skins, the equivalent of Legendary in Smite 1 in terms of that like black and gold color scheme, these are going to be available at Mastery 5 for free, so you won't have to buy the Ascension Pass to be able to get these. This is the only free Mastery skin as far as I'm aware. Also at Mastery 5, there's the Opal skins, which are a premium reward. These are kind of like a pinkish purple, like prismatic sort of color scheme. You also get unique global emote at level 5 in the premium track as well, which I've seen more of these than what was showcased on the show because they've showed us a lot of this stuff in like a private NDA related testing. They all look really awesome, honestly. I think they're all pretty hilarious. They showcased Susanoo's one on stream where he does like a weeb run, but there's a bunch of really funny ones. At level 10, you get the Radiant skin, the top tier Mastery skin with like this crazy glow effect, and a loading frame border like themed around that god that can be applied to your loading frame. Like Susanoo's one is sort of like thunderous and like glowing around the side. Ares one applies like chains that sort of like weave around the side of your loading frame. These look really cool as well, and these can be applied to your loading frame. They also have unique loadouts per god for your loading card, which I think is really cool, so you can theme your god card like around the god and have different ones for different picks. And finally, they will also have badges. At Mastery 10, you get a badge showcasing you have like mastered this god, and it's like a nice little picture of them and stuff like that. But they're also going to have various different ones, like ones that showcase your legacy Smite 1 mastery on that god, and some other things like badges for tier 5s you owned in Smite 1, ranked skin badges, beta tester badges from Smite 1, all that kind of stuff, and these can be displayed on your loading card. More info will be coming from the official patch notes in a couple of weeks' time, like ranked, specific numbers on things, the new objective, future plans for 24/7, the new splash screen, all that kind of stuff. But this was everything everything that was showcased on the Dev Insight show. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. Let me know, are you excited about this stuff? Personally, I think this is a really great patch. This is like the biggest patch we've seen for Smite 2 in ever, basically. A lot of cool stuff coming. Very excited to play it. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.